I had a question recently from a very high-end financial advisor, which was, what is the most common client acquisition mistake that I see? I've been in this business 40 years. I've seen a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes when it comes to client acquisition. But in my opinion, the biggest mistake that financial advisors make, which prevents them from acquiring clients, is giving away free advice. Let me give you an example. What got me thinking about this was recently a financial advisor came to me telling me that they were talking with a potential client just casually, somebody that they know through personal circles. So it wasn't in a business meeting or anything like that. It was just a friend or an acquaintance who came to ask about business succession. So by that, what he meant was that he was a business owner. He and his father owned a business, and this business owner was a little bit frustrated because he wanted to create a business succession plan, and apparently his father was resisting. It doesn't really matter what the problem was. So I asked the financial advisor just to recount the conversation to me, and he actually gave some very good advice, in my opinion. So there he was with a potential client who has a high priority problem, something that really is weighing on them, something that's bothering them. Let's call it a problem. And so what does the high-end skilled financial advisor do? He solves the problem. Now, I'm not saying in this casual meeting the financial advisor actually did the work required to resolve the issue. They certainly didn't create a succession plan. No, what I mean is that using skill and experience, this financial advisor created a framework and a structure of the solution which satisfied the potential client. And now the financial advisor is wondering why, when he follows up with this potential client, they keep rescheduling or pushing out the meeting as though now all of a sudden it's not such a high priority problem. It's not difficult to see what's happening here. The individual came with a problem and was provided a solution, or enough of a solution to stick the problem and get the resolution moving. Now, the question for the potential client is, what do I need them for? What do I need a financial advisor for? I've got things rolling again, but I really appreciate the advice. Maybe I'll go back for some more free advice another time. So what do you do instead? I figured this out somehow because I made every mistake in the book in this financial advisory business. I made every mistake you can imagine. But somehow in my late 20s, I figured this one out, that when you're in a situation with a potential client, in this case, quite easily could have been a potential, I can tell you one thing you don't do: solve the problem. Now, I'm not saying to hold back or to act in any way other than as a true professional. And I don't know about you, but as a professional, I think it's unprofessional to give free advice. Or let me put it another way. When I deploy my decades of experience and skill helping talk through a significant financial issue with a potential client, it's on the clock. So what do you do instead? Let me just throw it out there. Just address it straight up. What is the single most significant mistake that financial advisors make when it comes to client acquisition? Stop giving advice for free. That it's okay when someone, a potential client, comes to you with a problem. That's fabulous. That shows they trust you at some level, or they wouldn't even bother asking. It shows that the relationship is at a certain level, because these conversations don't occur if the relationship isn't advanced enough to warrant this kind of conversation. So it's a lot of good signs that this is happening. But you don't sit there and resolve the problem. Working at no charge, I don't know. I think it's unprofessional. So what do you do instead? Clarify the problem. I don't care if you're having lunch with an acquaintance or you just bumped into someone at some organization you're involved with, maybe Chamber of Commerce or something, and they corner you and start outlining a problem or a significant financial issue. As I've said, that's great. So what should you do? You need to ask clarifying questions and make sure that you are crystal clear on what the issue actually is. Someone comes to you and says, hey, my father and I own a business and it's driving me nuts. I keep pushing my father to do a succession plan and to no avail. He doesn't want to do that. And so how would I respond? I'd say, what do you mean succession plan? And I know, of course, what succession plan means to me. And of course, professionally, we create succession plans. What don't I know? I don't know what he means by succession plan. So he clarifies by succession plan, and then they go on to explain what it is. And keep drilling down. Let's say he responded, a succession plan would be someday we plan to sell our business. So what then? How do we identify a buyer for our business? That could very well be what he means by succession plan. But how many times have I had someone in this exact situation that we're describing who would have said something different? By succession plan, like when he dies, am I getting the business? Like who gets the business when Pop dies? So it could mean different things to different people. And in the conversation, before they've hired you, it's up to you to clarify the issue. So slow the conversation down and specifically ask what they mean by the problem. And as they start walking you through it, ask more clarifying questions. And you know what? You'll discover you had it a little bit different in your mind than what they meant. But if somewhere in this very good conversation where you're uncovering at deeper and deeper levels what the actual issues or problems are, if you identify that this is something that you do professionally, feel free to throw in right then and there, oh, I see what you mean. We have a process for this. But let me ask a few more questions. I think it's always also a good question to throw in there if at the point you've discovered this is an issue that you could help with. I think it's great to say something like I just said, but add this. Say, we have a process for business owners that are contemplating putting together a business succession plan. But let's say I didn't come along and you and I never talked. What are you going to do to resolve this? So it's a problem. It's a high priority. Obviously, you've shared that with me, Mr. Potential Client. So if I'd never come along, walk me step by step through your plan. What's your plan to resolve this problem? Let me tell you, if you do the steps that I'm saying, you slow it down, ask clarifying questions before you open your mouth and assume what the problem is, let them state it in their own words, and so that you've got it crystal clear. At the point it becomes obvious that it is something that you could help with because it's in your wheelhouse, let's say, then pause and say, we have a process for fill in the blank, whatever, use the words they used. And not how you describe your services, but how they just described your services. Oh, this is what we do. I have a process for fill in the blank, whatever words they used as the problem. And then have them walk you through their plan. And just trust me on this one. Their plan will be dysfunctional. It's possible that they walk you step by step through something that will actually work and maybe even work really well, but usually not. The reason that they brought it up to begin with is because it's a mess. It's a problem. It's something they're not clear on. Otherwise, who goes around asking people about problems that they've already got figured out? So ask them, slow it down, ask them what their plan is, have them walk you step by step through, and then just remind them at the end of that plan, say, we have a process to resolve, fill in the blank, whatever their problem is. And I'd be happy to schedule a meeting to sit down and begin resolving this. if that's something you'd like to do. So I'm not here to do any kind of training or anything along that line. I'm here to identify the biggest mistake in client acquisition. In my opinion, the time should be invested understanding the problem, not solving the problem. So next time you have a potential client saying, looking for a little free advice, saying, hey, what would you do in a situation like this? And then they lay out a financial problem that they've been dealing with. How about not answering the question until you've been paid? Better use the time clarifying, understanding the problem. Make sure that you say it back to them in a way that they agree, yes, you've got the problem. And just keep asking clarifying questions until they confirm you've got it, you understand it. And then if it's something that you can solve, just say, love to schedule time to sit down in the office and resolve this with you if that's something that you'd like to do. So I hope this helps. And there's so many aspects of client acquisition that we need to talk about in these videos, but I thought this was a particularly good one. So hope that helps.